Welcome to Business Networking and Referrals. I'm Faithann Basore, and here we're making the invisible parts of networking visible. Things like conversations, body language, and connection, so you can build real relationships that lead to referrals. Let's get into today's episode. Listeners, this episode I'm welcoming guest Kelly Burton. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Kelly is with Boards by Kelly, and I'm going to let Kelly tell you a little bit about her business.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Faith Ann, for having me. And it's great to be able to network with so many entrepreneurs such as yourself. And I own a charcuterie board business, like you said, Boards by Kelly, and we get to make all our clients' cheese dreams come true, as I like to say. And God's just abundantly blessed our business. Since the business has grown, I now work with my sister, Abby, and we're both stay at home moms and get to, gosh, have so many amazing jobs. This May, I think we've had 18 clients in May, which is like incredible. We've had boards all the way up to like 200 people, down to 25 people. And, just the other day, my sister got the most amazing feedback. And the client had told her, you just made this so easy. It was so effortless. All I did was book you, and then you gave us clear expectations all the way up and then delivered an amazing service. And Abby told me that. And I thought, that's exactly what I want for my business, that it's effortless. It's a well oiled machine and we get to make clients really happy, and all their guests say, oh my gosh, this spread is incredible. And all they had to do was just book us, and they didn't have to do any effort.
Yeah, you're that lazy river that draws the right people close to you. They can just
Yeah.
sit in the inner tube and they don't have to worry about the details because you are the professional and you know the details and you have happy clients. That's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that. Is this a busy time for you because of graduation?
Yes, very busy. May and December are our top 2 months, I would say. But like this Q1 was the best Q1 we've had in 3 years. We've got like a huge wedding coming up in August for like 200 people. But we've had some really, the bigger the boards, it's incredible. And so my sister and I work together with the larger boards, but we've done all kinds of things this month with corporate clients, weddings, graduations. And so it's good, but it's busy.
For sure. That's great. One of the things that I think about when I think about charcuterie board, are you finding that your clients are picking between a catered meal or a board? Like are they using the board in lieu of having to provide a meal, or are you just a supplement? I mean, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
just, but are you a
Yeah.
supplement?
That's a great question. For weddings, sometimes we're more of the cocktail hour. Like we did this wedding 2 weeks ago, and we were the cocktail hour, and then they had a pizza truck for their main entree. But most of the time, we are the main course. But I also, something I do complimentary for my clients is I can incorporate their desserts. We did a engagement party this past weekend, and it was a Hawaiian theme. And so they had us incorporate of theirs chicken kebabs and coleslaw, macaroni salad, and their adorable, beautiful cake. And so it was real themed. We did the charcuterie and then we incorporated their items.
Okay, so yeah, that makes me curious. When you say macaroni salad, I'm thinking, how do you do a macaroni salad on a charcuterie board? So tell me how that happens.
Yeah, so we just have the clients, hey, this is what we want you to incorporate that they're providing. And then we kind of set out their things, and then we incorporate our foods, kind of around those. So we do florals. We've done vintage tea sets for a client. We've done all sorts of different things to incorporate because clients love to have it themed sometimes, and we just have them provide it.
Okay. Well, the reason why we got together and decided that we were going to do this call together is because we were both at a We Rise conference recently in Oklahoma City. Big shout out to We Rise conference and Corey Mag, and I will link the We Rise conference info in the show notes. And you came up and asked me a question, and it was such a good question, and it ties closely to what a lot of people, a lot of networkers fear. And I thought, well, this would be so good for my listeners to hear. And of course, we talked about the answer then, and I just want to kind of go through this question and answer again. So, for the benefit of my listeners, so would you be willing to share the question that you asked me at that conference?
Sure. And tell me if it's been a little bit, but basically, I had wanted to know, you walk in a room and you know literally no one. What do you do? How do you go up to people that are already engaging in conversation? And is that appropriate? A, is that appropriate? B, just going up to someone that might be standing on their own and might be feeling scared too. And what do you say? And it was kind of one of those like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But I thought you'd be a great resource to kind of touch on that and have some good tips.
Yeah, and thank you so much for asking. And this actually happened to you. Is that why you asked? It's because that actually happened?
Yes. So, I've had my business for 3 years. And so I've met quite a few entrepreneurs. So I can usually walk in a room and I at least know someone. But it was a like 405 finalists, the best of the 405. And I had two or three friends, hey, we're getting together at this office. You should come. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can make that work. And so I got there thinking I was at least going to see two or three of my friends that invited me. But guess what? They didn't come, which is okay. I can handle it. I'm an extrovert, but I walked in the room and when I didn't see anyone, no, I was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't know what to do. And so I kind of thought maybe I should leave. But because I'm a foodie, they did have free smoothies from an amazing smoothie shop. And so the food kept me there. But I really had to kind of exercise some of those muscles of, I got to go up to people and talk to them and engage. But what do you do to do that appropriately? And then if it's a group of people, and I panicked.
And so, did you find yourself able to talk to anybody while you were there?
I did. I went up to, I was like, okay, if I'm going to spend my precious hour here, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to make the most of it. So I went up to a few groups, introduced myself, but man, it was awkward. But I felt like they sensed the awkwardness too. They were just trying to meet people. I could kind of tell that group, not a lot of people knew a lot of people.
Mm.
You can just tell by body language and conversations were just kind of a little bit more awkward, but I'd love to hear tips from you of how do you go up to a group that's already engaging in conversations but not feel like you are intruding on their conversations, because I would never ever want to interrupt their conversation for just the sake of me trying to talk to someone.
Right. Well, and this is such a great question to ask. And so, if you're let me, we're going to take a little meandering road to the answer to your question. So, the first thing that I recommend you do, no matter what meeting you're going to go to, whether you think you'll know people in the room or not, when you're in the car, take a minute or two to take some deep breaths, and that relaxes your mind and it gets you to stop thinking, did I switch the laundry? Are the dishes, is the dishwasher running? Oh, and I got to make sure I make that doctor's appointment tomorrow. So just take a few deep breaths to center yourself. And then here's the questions you ask yourself. What opportunities are here in this room for me? When you ask yourself that, your brain is primed now to find opportunities. Now, there's two other questions, and you can go back and listen to that episode. It's called the 3-question reset, and I'll link that in the show notes for you in particular, what I would recommend is you ask yourself for sure that question. So, what opportunities are here for me? What it does is it puts you in this role of tourist instead of the role I need to fit in. I need to
Mm,
go in here and immediately people have to like me. Nope, you're there to find out what opportunities are there waiting for you. And there's always opportunities in every room where people get together. We each know about 250 people. So
mm,
that's the very beginning is what opportunities are here. Now, the second thing I recommend is you look at the room carefully. And what you want to look for are small groups of threes or twos, and they're called open threes and open twos. And I got this concept from Business Network International, BNI for short, and they teach this.
mm,
So when you are looking around the room, and I'm doing my hands, I've got my hands parallel facing each other. So when two people are facing each other face to face, they're probably talking about, an unpaid invoice, or they're talking serious, and
mhm,
that's not a conversation you're going to easily enter.
mhm,
But you are going to enter a conversation where people, now I have my hands in like a V, where
mhm,
they're next to each other but they're facing out in a V. Those are the conversations, if no one is escorting you, those are the conversations to find. And you'll find them. All you got to do is just look. Look for people who are open, who are standing more open. So you wouldn't want to look for a group of like 5 or 6 people in a circle, because that would be hard to enter. Where are you going to enter? It's a circle. But if you can find a group of 2, 3, or 4 people, and there's an opening there, there's where you go find your friends or your potential friends. And the way to come in is to stand near, listen, and then you can introduce yourself when there's an opening. And then the other thing you can do quickly, even if you want to do this before you even say your name, is a compliment. So somebody in every room is wearing a necklace that you would like to wear. You know,
mhm,
somebody's got some cool hair. Somebody's got some nice nails. Somebody's got a nice tie. There's things to compliment in every room you're in. And so you just have to you can look and say, well, what do I like about the way this person appears? What do I like about the person's voice? And that's another thing you can compliment is their voice, the way they tell a story. If you've heard something good from somebody else about them, I wanted to meet you because my friend Molly was telling me that she loves your restaurant or whatever.
mhm,
So those are the main strategies is you got to look for people in a group who are open, and then the way to come in is you can find a compliment or just wait for the lull, and
mhm,
the people who are good at networking are going to know that a newcomer has come in. Good networking rooms don't make people work hard to join conversations.
mhm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And how, blessed do you feel when someone just comes up to you and introduces themselves, which that's what I've done plenty of times before. Hi, my name is Kelly. What's your name? Oh, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then you are just getting to know one another. But yeah, there has been, I can actually picture myself in that room. And there was kind of like, that was a great illustration. I'm a visual learner, so if you got like the parallel one on one, which I've had conversations where I'm one on one with someone and I'm telling them a story or something, and then someone walks up. Well, you don't want to be, um, rude to that person. So then you kind of stop your conversation and then engage with that person. And then hopefully, you can go back and pick up that conversation with the other person. But we've all had that happen. And that's just part of it being in a room. But I do like the idea of, if 3 people are kind of open and chatting, and I can picture myself in that room, and that's exactly what I did. It seemed like it was kind of a natural opening. And so I just went right up. But, when you do that, You have no idea, do those 3 people know each other? Do 2 of them know each other and the other one they don't know? And it was a lady who was, like, running for the best of the 405 in the country music division, and the other 2, I think, were the smoothie shop owners, so it was just kind of a collection of people, and you just have to make the most of it. But I do like the idea of a compliment, or something just to start conversation. Oh, well, thank you. Hey, I got these earrings from my sister and I wear them a lot, and then that's kind of a diving board to talk about other things.
Right. And I would challenge you also, instead of asking yourself the question, oh, do they know each other? Am I the odd
Mm-hmm.
man out? Ask yourself, what's cool about these people that I'm going to go up and talk to? What's the one thing
Mm-hmm.
that I betcha I'm not going to know that I'm going to learn? So it's always opportunity, opportunity, opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And keep everything else out of your mind, and you're going to relax yourself more when you're asking, and your brain wants to answer what you ask it wants to answer. So, ooh, I wonder what that woman who's wearing that really cool necklace, I wonder if there's a story behind that. So if that's what you're walking up, and you're going to compliment the woman wearing the cool necklace, and you're asking yourself, I wonder if there's a story behind that necklace. Now, what leaves? All the self-consciousness leaves, because you're focused on curiosity, finding out. And
Mm-hmm.
when that's in your mind, and then you compliment and you invite the story, is there a story behind that necklace? Now that's
Mm-hmm.
the vibe you're giving to the room. They will pick up on that. You mentioned earrings. I wear them all the time because my sister gave them to me. We Is that what you said, or
I
did
did,
I make
and
that
I
up?
actually do. I wear pearl hoops, and I have worn them to every single client. I don't know, probably like a year or 2. I don't know. I just started wearing them, and that's just what I wear every single time. So I'm always with the pearl hoops.
Right. So if someone were to compliment you on those earrings, more than likely that other detail is going to come out, correct?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
we're wired, to be connected with each other and to share the connections we already have, and that's what a compliment allows
Mhm.
others to do, especially if you frame it like, I bet you there's a story behind those earrings. And even if there isn't a story, the word story will elicit more detail from them anyway, even if there's not a
Mhm.
story. So I like to do, sometimes I will compliment someone's dress and I'll say, tell me the story of how that found its way into your closet. So tell me the story of, now they're not going to say, well, I got it at Kohl's. They're going to say, oh, well, my sister and I, we went down to Galveston, and we had a couple of hours, and we were going to go to the mall. And I mean, it's just going to elicit more. and
Mhm.
and really, what you want positive interactions. It doesn't necessarily have to be about your business, because enough positive interactions will get you there. It'll get you to your
Mhm.
business. These positive interactions, like eliciting positive feelings in people by asking good questions and not being afraid, is the road to get you there.
Mhm. Yeah, and I people would say, "Man, you ask a lot of questions," but I'm just kind of curious by nature. Like for instance, yesterday I was at the pool, neighborhood pool, and my daughter knew one of the other girls. And so I just got to talking with the other mom and, oh, hey, what do you do? And then she was saying her husband's a police detective. And so, me, I'm just so curious. So I'm like, oh, well, tell me about that. What does that all involve? And we could probably talk for an hour just about all the, things. And so, just being curious and interested in someone, sometimes we lack that. And that's, to me, I think another good point with making someone feel comfortable is that you aren't just pushing yourself on them. Hey, this is what I do. Here's my business card. this is exactly what I'm here and what I'm wanting. And if you miss out on just getting to know someone, and this is in any, not just networking, but if you're at church, if you're at a school function, just being interested in people, sometimes there's such a lack of that.
For sure. For sure. Sometimes we just get impatient and we don't realize
Yeah.
that the referrals are only going to come when there's been enough positive interactions
Yeah.
and the need.
Mm-hmm.
So I can
Mm-hmm.
have great positive interactions with somebody at several networking meetings, but if there aren't any needs for them, both me personally or the people I'm around, then the business isn't going to come. But then all of a sudden, your sister, now all of a sudden she needs to plan a wedding because her daughter's getting married. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what the short-sightedness misses out on is
Mm-hmm.
that's the number one thing I think people who want to just come up and pass their business cards out immediately and make sure everyone knows
Mm-hmm.
what they do, they miss out on the long-term understanding that things are always changing and our needs are always changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And, I think of the relationships I built through networking, and I've been able to refer so many times. But probably my best friend that I've met in networking is actually a competitor of mine. Her name's Leslie with Lunch Lady Les, and her work is just incredible. And she's so talented. And I just one day said, "Hey, would you like to get coffee? I don't know you, but I would love to get to know you, and now we're best of friends, and we refer people to one another." And so that's something else, is not being afraid to get to know someone that you're a competitor of, that there's such a blessing and a benefit. You can talk about things that only you can relate to. Just like, if someone wanted to, I'm sure you have people in the window cleaning business, hey, that chemical has been really streaky lately. What's going on? Because I can't tell you, I have no idea. Um, and so it's good to have those people too in your corner that you can. And now we're friends. We don't just talk about work, and that's the blessing
Hmm.
of getting to know someone on a personal level. And then also you get the benefit too of getting to chat about business.
Right. And it ultimately serves your clients better anyway. We you mentioned window cleaning. Last week, I sent a referral to another window cleaner because we weren't able to serve them
Mm-hmm.
in the time that they needed. So
Mm-hmm.
a selfish window cleaner would say, and someone with a scarcity mindset would say, "Well, I'm not going to help them find my competitor," you know. But
Mm-hmm.
but when we know that when when the client is happy, everyone wins. Then
Mm-hmm.
we're thinking, okay, what's the best thing I can do for the client? And the best
Mm-hmm.
thing is to refer them to somebody that I know is going to take good care of them because I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and growing that trust. And like you said, it takes time. Those just don't develop overnight. And so, I think of We Rise Conference and so many other groups where, you just are getting to know ladies, and you get to be around them more, and, you get to ask questions and get to know about their families. And those conversations have to take initiative. They don't just happen, and it's two-sided, right? So I think something else too is when you're engaging in conversation, asking a question and then letting them respond, where it's a mutual discussion. How many times have I been where someone is just like talking my ear off, and it's like, man, I really need to move on from this conversation, which actually, if it's okay, could I ask you? That's like a fantastic question. I would love to know that. Naturally, I'm just thinking, how do you appropriately, if you're really wanting to chat with other people in the room but you cannot get out of a conversation, what's a good segue? Because that's happened to all of us before, and we've all found victim of that. And what would you say?
Well, there's a few things you can do. The first one is to invite them to help you move on. So,
Hmm.
as soon as you
Elaborate on that. Yeah.
yeah, as soon as they come up for air, Instead of,
Yeah.
I mean, take that opportunity and say, it's been so great chatting. And then look at them, like lean in and say, I told myself I was going to talk to 3 new people here today. Who should I go see
Yeah.
next? So that's one way.
That's great.
The other way,
Okay. I like that.
the other way is to kind of the reverse of that is, hey, we've had a great time chatting. Is there anybody else you would like to meet that I can introduce you to? And then you
Hmm.
take them to somebody else. So those are the 2 main ways. And if those don't work, sometimes you do have to remind people. I would try those first because that's
Yeah.
the most diplomatic
Hmm.
way. But then sometimes you do have to remind, if that's not going to work, you have to say, this has been a great conversation and I'm here really to make new connections. So I have to make sure that I'm finding
Hmm.
these great conversations like ours. You include your conversation as one of the many great conversations that you need to have,
Hmm.
but you have to be a little bit more direct and say,
Hmm.
I'm really here to make some great connections and find good conversations like this to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and find another friend to join. And thank you so much for
Hmm.
telling me about your business. And then just walk away. I mean, if you have to, you just walk away.
Yeah.
But try the other 2 first. See, and then here's one that I talked about recently when I did a training about 2 things to notice and what people are noticing. So here's something people will notice that you want to be careful about. If you say, well, it's been great, I got to go, then you need to make sure you go so that
Mm.
they can't see
Yeah.
you 45 minutes later talking to someone else because
Yeah.
they'll feel slighted. And so, for
Yeah.
one, that's rude. But secondly, what if that
Hmm.
person that you said, I got to go, and you didn't go? What if their mom tomorrow, like in your case, is going to
Hmm.
host a garden party and needs a charcuterie board? Well, you're not going to get that referral for sure. So, you
Hmm.
always be thinking about the long lasting effects of everything you do when you're in the room.
Hmm.
And you'll have a,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
And that's just treating people too with respect and kindness,
Mm-hmm.
which is at the end of the day, everyone's human. And that's how the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are some good tips because that sometimes does come up too in networking circles. And I think that that's, to the point of networking is being able to get to know other people and meet other people, just to keep growing your circle of friends and,
Influence.
referral partners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, influence. That's a great
Yeah.
way to say it.
Yeah, if you only talk to the people that you know well and that they know you well at networking
Hmm.
meetings, that's not a good use of your time. And
Yeah.
so I want to just leave one more thought with you, and then I have a question that I ask all the guests before they leave. So from your perspective now, so now you have the support around, what conversation should I join?
Hmm.
Now think about yourself being more open to that somebody like yourself coming in. So just for your own sake, remember that you always want to keep your body open when you're talking to somebody.
Hmm.
So if somebody comes right in front of you, just open yourself up and then
Hmm.
notice those people on the outlying and invite
Hmm.
them in and save your serious conversations that can't really be discussed in an open forum. You have a serious matter.
Hmm.
The networking
Hmm.
meeting is not the place to go find Susie and tell her that, I can't be your client anymore or whatever. So it really all conversations at open networking meetings should be such that you could easily get somebody right in the middle of it fairly quickly.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
anything more serious, and if it's good, you want to invite that person to have coffee, and so that way you can really
Hmm.
get down to, how can we work together? Those are for
Hmm.
one-to-ones. Open networking is for positive interactions, just the race to positive interactions, to teach people that you are a safe conversation to have.
Yeah.
That's
And
how.
people remember those, when you're driving home. I went to OKC Women in Business, Yukon Coffee, and I met a pelvic floor physical therapist, and we had the best conversation. I had never met her before. And I drove home and I was like, man, that was just such a great conversation. And now we're connected on social media, and she's had an incredible growth, and I get to watch that. And that relationship would have never happened had I A, not gone to the networking meeting, B, not, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then we were just talking about a whole bunch of, I'm a nurse by trade. And so we were just talking about some like more medical discussions, but such great conversation that would have never happened had both of us not been interested in what we do and asking those questions.
Mhm. And down the line, you all may be a resource for each other as
Yeah,
situations in your lives change.
right. Totally. Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you again, Kelly. I'm going to ask you this question, and then at the end, I'll invite you to tell the listeners where they can find you. And so, Kelly, if you had to tap your younger self on the shoulder as you were just starting your business, what advice, as you were setting out to make a difference in the world, would you give your younger self?
That's a great question. And I would say to be true to yourself. God's given all of us different gifts, strengths, and weaknesses. And I don't have anyone to compete with other than myself. Starting out, I thought, oh my gosh, how can I be like this person that has the following, the opportunities? And then I kind of started to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be me. And even now, just leaning into more of, what makes me unique and different. And I can only be me, and I don't want to be anyone else. And just to be okay with that, and to be confident, and um, to trust, for me and my faith, which is really important to me, that God's going to open doors and he's going to close doors, and that I'm going to go through the doors he wants me to go through. And there's a tremendous amount of peace in that. And he's going to guide me. I just have to follow. And so being myself and authentic to me is, I think, some of how I've gotten this far. And then working with my sister, who also is just totally herself, and we're goofy and we're fun. And we are just going to be who, God made us, and go through those doors.
Well, what a great answer. I echo that. God leading and directing and trusting Him that He's putting the right opportunities in front of us. So thank you for sharing that. And we did have one of your boards at the We Rise conference. I remember, it was a
Hmm.
breakfast one, wasn't
It
it?
was.
Yeah,
It
so
was.
good.
I've done a few though. Corey's been great to, I remember when I started 3 years ago, they were my first like big client. I was like floored that someone would pay me that much money to do a board, that someone would trust me. And it's just incredible to see the growth 3 years ago. Well, almost like three and a half now. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it is. She's a kind soul, and
Yeah.
she lets opportunities. She seeks them and seeks them for others too. So,
Yeah.
where can people find you?
Boards by Kelly on Facebook, and then my Instagram is boardsbykelly.okc. And then I also do some email marketing, and it's my newsletter goes out monthly, and it's called the Gouda Life. And so my website,
Oh,
which is, yeah, it's the Gouda Life, the newsletter for cheese lovers.
okay.
And so I share great just boards we've done. I share cheesy jokes. It's really lighthearted, really fun and upbeat, something that you would actually want to read. And then some things I offer. But then my website is boardsbykelly.com. And then there should be a pop up where you can join the email marketing. And we make a lot of funny reels on Instagram to keep things upbeat. And it's a good time at Boards by Kelly.
Well, I'm going to go and get on your newsletter because I don't think I'm on that list.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, when you're struggling to have the confidence that Kelly and I have been talking about, to go into rooms and talk about your business and enter these conversations, and you want more individualized support, hop on a discovery call. The link is in the show notes. And let's see if there's some ways that we might work together that I can make networking more fun for you and open those doors for you. We all have powerful problems that we solve, and people should know about that. So, Kelly, thank you so much for saying yes to being on the podcast.
Sure. And thank you so much for having me and just the great conversation and tips and tools. And I, just after our little brief conversation, feel more apt to, be more observant and take more initiative in those networking discussions.
Oh, that makes me really happy. Yeah, I'm so thrilled that you to hear that. That's wonderful.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome. And listeners, go and network. I'm rooting for you.